Welcome to This Explainer. If you've ever taken a road trip across the American heartland, you've probably slammed on the brakes for some pretty bizarre sights. We're talking everything from houses made entirely of beer cans and giant concrete animals to towering roadside astronauts. Today, we're diving into the fascinating evolution of these roadside icons and uncovering the real economic drive that brought them to life in the first place.
It really makes you wonder, right? Why on earth did Americans start building giant fiberglass dinosaurs next to the highway? Well, to figure out this whole quirky phenomenon, we've got to look past the novelty of it all. We really need to see these structures for what they were. Absolutely crucial tools for economic survival for small rural communities.
Section 1. Dawn of the road trip. So, our journey actually starts way before the era of smooth asphalt and predictable fast food chains.
Things built up pretty quickly. Back in 1903, Dr. Horatio Nelson Jackson pulled off this crazy 63-day journey, which was literally the very first cross-country drive. Then just 5 years later, in 1908, the Model T hits the scene, suddenly making car ownership affordable for the middle class. By 1919, we start seeing official auto camping groups popping up, like the Tin Can Tourists. And then, the big one, 1926, Route 66 is officially established, totally paving the way for modern American travel.
And I absolutely love this detail about those 1920s auto campers. They earned the absolute best nickname, the Tin Can Tourists. These early road trippers were named for their tin cars, the actual tin cans they ate their food from, and their kind of flimsy tin-like camp setups. They were the original pioneers of the road trip, literally attaching tents right to their cars and depending on early municipal auto camps to host them on these dusty, wild adventures into nature.
Section 2. The Route 66 Golden Age. Now, as auto camping really took off and became this massive national pastime, one specific stretch of pavement became the undisputed king of American travel. 2,448. That is the staggering number of miles making up Route 66. It cut a massive diagonal line all the way from Chicago, Illinois, straight down to Los Angeles, California. This highway wasn't just a road, it was a total economic lifeline that connected hundreds of rural communities across 8 different states.
And along those thousands of miles, this totally distinct, iconic aesthetic was born. You had these classic mom-and-pop Shell gas stations, motor courts, and just brilliant, buzzing neon signs everywhere. They totally transformed what was a dusty, desolate landscape into a super welcoming haven for all these weary drivers crossing the country.
So, what caused the big boom? Well, it was kind of a perfect storm right after World War II. You had a massive wave of economic prosperity mixed with suburban expansion, which basically birthed our car-dependent culture. Throw in larger baby boom families, cars that were actually reliable, and, this is a big one, paid vacation time. Suddenly, everyday Americans had both the cash and the free time to just go explore the open road.
Section 3. Kitsch and grassroots marketing.
With all these new travelers zooming by, small towns realized pretty quickly they had to do something drastic to get motorists to actually hit the brakes. Instead of just selling, a tank of gas or a hot meal, these really crafty entrepreneurs basically invented destination marketing. They created this grassroots, populist counterpoint to standardized travel by taking totally mundane objects and blowing them up into monumental sites. It was a genius way to assert their unique local identity and stimulate the regional economy, basically making the journey itself the main spectacle.
These entrepreneurs captured people's imaginations in 3 main ways. First, you had the classic world's largest brag. Think of Kansas's massive ball of twine that locals have literally been adding to since 1953. Then you had novelty architecture. We're talking about a literal duck-shaped retail store in New York that coined the term duck architecture, or Lucy the Elephant, a 6-story building in New Jersey. And finally, folk art, like the famous Cadillac Ranch in Texas, where 10 vintage Cadillacs were buried nose first right into the dirt.
Just imagine driving for hours through absolute nothingness, and then suddenly, boom, you see a 50-foot green man in Minnesota, or the Mitchell Corn Palace in South Dakota, which is entirely wrapped in murals made out of grain. Or take Wall Drug. They cleverly put up billboards advertising free ice water and 5-cent coffee for hundreds of miles. Or Oklahoma's 80-foot blue whale of Catoosa. This wasn't just weird art. It was a brilliant psychological trick to break up the monotony of driving and basically force travelers to pull over.
Section 4. The Interstate Highway Threat. Now, unfortunately, this quirky, colorful era was soon staring down a massive, concrete existential threat.
The contrast here was pretty sobering. On one hand, Route 66 was communal, it was slow-paced, and it was deeply integrated right into the main streets of these small towns. But on the other hand, the new 1956 Interstate Highway System was exceptionally fast, highly standardized, and literally designed to bypass local traffic. So while these new interstates definitely made travel way faster and safer, they completely, mercilessly, bypassed the very towns that relied on that highway traffic to survive. 41,000. That's how many miles of new superhighways the 1956 Interstate Highway Act created. It's a huge number, and this massive, unprecedented infrastructure project effectively sucked the economic lifeblood right out of the quirky roadside stops that had spent decades catering to tourists.
The final blow finally came in 1985, when Route 66 was officially decommissioned. After decades of losing all their traffic to massive, super-efficient interstates like I-40, the highway that John Steinbeck famously dubbed the Mother Road was just wiped straight off official government maps. Because of that, hundreds of iconic motels and diners were forced to close up shop for good.
Section 5. Preserving the American roadside. Because, as we'll see, the story of these quirky landmarks absolutely does not end in the scrap heap. Despite being officially decommissioned, dedicated enthusiasts and historic preservation groups stepped up in a big way. Because of them, a staggering 85% of the original Route 66 alignment actually remains drivable today. Only 15% is lost or totally inaccessible. And that dedication means modern explorers like us can still get out there and get our kicks on that historic pavement.
A massive turning point in this whole preservation effort happened in 1999. That's when the National Route 66 Preservation Bill provided $10 million in matching fund grants. This historic legislation officially recognized all these kitsy dinosaurs, the glowing neon signs, the wigwam motels, not as just roadside junk, but as vital, protected pieces of American cultural heritage. It was this huge acknowledgement that these quirky stops represent the uniquely independent, grassroots spirit of American travel.
And that brings us to the future. As we shift toward an era of standardized supercharging stations and self-driving cars, what new, bizarre monuments will the next generation of travelers leave behind on the open road? I really hope this explainer has inspired you to take the scenic route next time, and I'll leave you with that question to ponder on your next great adventure. Thanks for learning with me today.